Okay, so today we're continuing 1 point perspective. Last week we talked about the vocabulary, the horizon line, the vanishing point, converging lines, and seeing the results from that assessment that I just gave you guys, I noticed that you guys really did learn what we talked about, and you still remember it after 2 weeks. So that's great. I'm really excited for that. Today we're going to be starting the final project for this credit, which is we're going to be building a city in 1 point perspective. So your objective is that you will use your skills and your creativity to create a city scene in 1 point perspective. So I'm going to go over the requirements for this final project, and then we'll do a practice one. Okay, where I'm gonna show you step by step on that practice one, and then you'll get a chance to do it, try it out on your own in a bigger piece of paper. So if you look at the last page on your packet, the one that says final project, it has this picture of the city on the corner. Are you guys all on this page? Okay. So the requirements for your city is that you must use the entire space provided. I'm going to give you a 12 by 18 piece of paper, so that's pretty big. I don't want you guys to do a little tiny city like right in the center of the paper. I want you to use the entire space like this. Okay, so that means that your buildings might be bigger than the trial one that we're going to do. Okay, you must have a minimum of 10 buildings. So each one of these counts as one building. So this picture has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Do you see that? So you're going to have a minimum of 10 buildings. You must have a variety of window styles on each building. You must have a minimum of 4 windows on each building. So you see how the way that they've done windows on these? Obviously there's more than 4. But if if you want to do the minimum, it has to be at least 4. And you must have a minimum of 1 door on each building. Now I know that the ones in the back are kind of hard to do because you can't see them, they're hiding, but I would expect to at least see a door on the ones in the front, the ones that you can see the side on. And your work must be outlined and shaded in with a minimum of 3 shades of gray on each building. Okay, so each one of these buildings it is showing 3 sides. So let's say that you determine where your light's coming from. That should help you shade those 3 different values. If the light's coming from up above, then your lightest part of your building is going to be what's it going to be?
What did you say?
If the sun is up above the city, what's going to be the lightest side of the building? The top, yes. And then you can go from there, a tone lighter on one of the sides and then a darker, so 3 tones. Your procedures, you're going to start by drawing the horizon line, vanishing point on your paper like we've been doing with all the other exercises. You're going to draw the street coming towards you, which we're going to go over all of these steps. And you're going to go to the sidewalk, the buildings, and I'm going to go over all of this right now when we do our little city. I did add these pictures of other city scenes so that you can see the difference on the height of the horizon line. See, like this one has it more on the lower section of the paper. This one has it really high up. So you can see the difference of the views depending on where you put your horizon line. And when you do your own, you can decide where you want it. If you want your city to look more like this, then you know to put your horizon line up high. If you want your city to look like this or like this one, then you know to put it down low. Right? Now on this picture right here, can you guys tell me what the eye level is? Is it a bird's eye view, normal view, or worm's eye view?
Normal.
Birds. Does it look like you're standing on the street, or does it look like you're in a building looking down from a window? Right. It's because you don't see you're looking down at the street. Now, what about this This one right here.
That's normal view.
Normal view. Right? Because that one does look like you're standing on the street. Everything is right in front of you. So think about those things when you're doing, you know, when you're planning your own city. What kind of view do you want to give it? Okay? So now we're going to flip our paper over to this page. Now this one has all the steps to draw the city scene. I'm not going to go over these right now because we're actually going to follow these steps when we do the small drawing. But I want you to be aware that it's here for when you're doing your own. That way, if you don't remember right away all the steps, like what order they went in, you can always come back and look at this to help you out. Okay? I'm also going to make this video available for you guys if you want to watch it again to help you remember, because I know it's a lot of steps. But we're going to read this little paragraph right here. Artists use one-point perspective to show forms face on. Most lines are vertical, horizontal, or diagonals drawn to a single vanishing point. Use these steps to draw a city street scene on the back side of this paper in the space provided. So we're going to flip our paper over. We're going to find a large rectangle, which we're going to use to draw our practice city scene. So everything that you guys have done, I know that one of the activities was to draw the boxes in one-point perspective, and you guys were doing, they were floating boxes pretty much. What we're going to do with this is we're still going to draw boxes and squares because that's the shapes of buildings, but we're going to do it in an organized manner because we need to ground it on the floor, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our horizon line with our vanishing point. And the first thing we're going to do is draw those lines that are going to represent our street, because that's where our cities are going to be. So I'm going to show you this picture. So you see how on the first one we have the horizon line and the vanishing point right here on this one, right? Then the next step is we're going to do the receding lines, which are going to represent our sidewalk or our street. And then we're going to draw the rectangle. This is the side that's facing us. We're going to draw it right on the corner of the receding line that we drew. From there, we're going to begin to draw the converging lines going to the vanishing point, and then we'll go from there. So this is going to be our first step right here. Do our horizon line, our vanishing point, and then receding lines. Okay? Notice the receding lines end at the bottom of your paper. Okay? So it doesn't have to be super wide, it doesn't have to be super narrow. Okay? If you look at the pictures of these other cities, look at this one. This one has them kind of narrow. This one has them a little bit wider, and this one ends all the way over here. This one has them even wider. You see how it goes their way out? So you know, it's up to you right now. You can start making decisions on what you want it to look like. So go ahead and grab your rulers and start by doing a horizon line and your vanishing point. Now remember to line up your ruler to the side of your paper to get that straight horizontal line. On this paper I drew a rectangle. You can use that as your guide. Like instead of lining it up to the paper, you can line it up to those lines as well because they are straight. And I'm just gonna try to do my vanishing point right on the center of my paper. I will be coming around to check on your progress. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me.
Was he here yesterday though?
Straight.
Would you hold your ruler like this? Hold it like this, that way it doesn't move with this hand, hold it like that.
That makes me concerned with this and changing the mirror makes me concerned because
If you have your horizon line and your vanishing point, go ahead and draw in your receding lines, which are going to represent your street. So make sure you line up your ruler to that vanishing point, and they can come out to the bottom. No. There can be the distance between the edge to where the lines end can be different on each side. In real life, it would be like if you were standing on this in the middle of the street. You know, I guess you would have equal amounts, but if you're standing on a sidewalk, it would be a different view. If you're standing, you know, depending on what side of the street you're standing on, it would change. So next we're going to start by drawing the first building. We need to draw the side that is facing us. So it could be a rectangle shaped building, or it can be a squared shaped building. The only thing that you need to remember is that the corner of the building has to be touching this line. Okay? So if you look at this picture, the rectangle is a perfect rectangle. It's vertical and horizontal lines, but the corner is touching that line. Okay? So when you're doing the vertical lines, make sure you're lining up your ruler at the bottom.
Could the other side of the building touch the corner, or it has to be?
It can. And then to do the top of the building, I'm going to flip my ruler and I'm going to line it up at the edge. Make sure I have a perfect horizontal. So the face of your buildings are facing you directly. They're face on. And to do the other side of the building, I need a perfect vertical line, so I'm lining up my ruler at the bottom. So there's my side.
Can we pass the horizon?
Hmm?
Can we pass the horizon?
Yes, you can. If you did your horizon line lower, most likely your buildings are going to go over the horizon line, which is fine. It just, the only difference, or what that means, is that your point of view is from it's a different height.
Where I could get a hold of him. He didn't come to school on Monday. Usually he comes every week. So I just wanted to check in and see if he's coming later. But there was no answer on the other phones. Does he have a cell phone, do you know? Yes.
Your lines are so long.
Okay.
Oh, can I pencil?
Oh,
Drawing
okay.
pencil?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try
So
to
now
call
you're
that
gonna go up
number
from
again and just leave another message. Thank you so much for your help. Okay, thanks. Okay, bye. Okay, so that is the front. And then 3, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5. Hi, can I speak to Delia, please? Hi, this is Ms. Whiteside. I'm the principal of Assurance Learning Academy, where Rico Bertha goes to school. And he didn't come to school on Monday. Usually he comes every week, and I just wanted to see if I
Just
can.
want to set it up right here.
Is there a number
That
where
is
I
perfect.
can call him, or is he gonna come in later this week?
Can somebody guess what the next step is gonna be after this?
Okay.
Connect the upper corner
To the what? Vanishing point, yes. So we're gonna line up a ruler to every corner on our building. Every corner that we can see. This one doesn't really matter because it goes behind it. But we can see this one and this one, right? And this one, it's already lined up because it's going along this one and it is going to the vanishing point. So go ahead and draw those converging lines to define the edges of our building.
Kind of send him our way, because I know you guys live pretty close to the school. If you could just send him our way, I'm trying to, I know, like, he has a good relationship with his teacher, but I'm trying to set up meetings and talk to some of the students who are maybe not getting a bunch of credits or something, just so I can make sure that he's doing okay. So if you can send him our way, and then that way I can talk to him.
Once you're done drawing the converging lines
Okay.
to define your edges, the next step would be to decide how wide you want your building to be, just like we did with the boxes. So what I usually do is I'll make a little mark to determine where the back of my building is going to be, and then remember, whatever you do to the front you need to do to the back. So if this side of this building is going in the vertical direction, then that has to do the same thing. You need to line up the ruler to the bottom of the paper to get that straight line, and then from that mark that you made, you're going to do the same thing going across that way. So I'm going to line up my ruler to the bottom of the page.
Oh, I told him to come to school, and if he doesn't, I told him every day he needs to come to school. And clearly he's a child.
Then I'm going to do it going across because I need to match this one.
So he's either a sociopath or suicide. Like, neither of those things. Like,
And then erase the converging lines. We're not going to erase this bottom one because we need it for our street, but we are going to erase these.
I'm thinking. I'm just gonna take it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not
Does anybody have questions so far?
I don't know.
So, if yeah, go ahead. Alondra, your building goes over the horizon line, right? Okay. For buildings that are over the horizon line, after we erase the converging lines, you need to erase any lines that are across. So for yours, I'm guessing that the horizon line is going across your building. Okay, erase the horizon line that's inside your building. That way it looks like a solid block.
I gotta go to my therapist.
Okay.
Facebook meeting and then somebody told me that Jada was here and I called the social worker and said Jada's on campus.
Social work came, picked her up. And so Jada was starting to kind of meltdown. Not with anybody here, but in the first all.
Now the next step is going to be to draw another building. We're going to draw a few buildings before it's better for us to draw all the buildings first and then add detail to it, because sometimes they're overlapping and you're going to have to erase, if you do all the work, then you're going to have to erase in sections because you end up having overlapping, which you won't be able to see the whole thing. So the next step would be to add a building to the back of this one. Now you need to draw the side that's facing you, but since it's going to be overlapping, you're not going to be able to draw the entire thing. So it would look something like this. Just the one thing to remember is you always have to, the corner has to be touching this line. Okay? So if you want to leave like a little space between your buildings, you can. It will make it like a little alley. Or if you want to make your buildings like touching, like wall to wall, then you would start it there. I prefer to do a little space in between them. Okay, so let's say I'm going to start my building here. This is the corner where they're going to touch. So I have to do the face of my building. So it's going to be a perfect vertical line. So I'm going to line up my ruler.
I know some of you heard some.
And then it's from here, it's going to go horizontally. So I'm lining up my ruler at the edge of my paper. And I'm only going to go to there because I can't, there's no point for me to draw through here because I would have to erase it anyways. So as long as I lined up my ruler, it's in the right spot, that's, you know, as long as it's right, that's all that matters, as long as I can see it. But I do have to finish off the rest of it. So from here, I'm going to line up my ruler to the edge of the paper to make sure it's a perfect horizontal, and I'm going to go over as far as I want my building to go. And then I'm just going to finish it off wherever that front building starts. Okay? So you see how you can see the flat side that's facing us? Now from here, you're going to do your converging lines, and you're going to follow the steps that you did for this one. You will do the rest of the converging lines. You would determine how wide your building is and draw the rest of the lines to finish it up, and then erase the remaining converging lines or any lines that are going through your building.
Does the, you know where the buildings touch right there together?
Right here?
No, the top corner?
Right here?
Does it have to touch right there? Or
It doesn't have to touch right on the corner. It can go wherever. It can go further back, or it can be like here. Mine just happens to touch in the corner. Was that your question? So once we do the shading, and especially because of this space right here, you can tell that the buildings are not touching. They're not touching. There's a space. They're overlapping. Okay. So I'll let you guys work on this. If you feel confident enough, you can continue adding buildings. You can make them taller, shorter, wider, and then you can jump to the other side and start doing buildings on this side if you'd like to. I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to work on those, and then I'll come and check. I'm going to walk around, check on your progress, and then after you have a few buildings on there, I'll teach you how to do the doors and the windows. Does anybody have questions?
I nominate you.
That looks good. So what's next? Even if it looks like it's too extreme, like it's too close, just follow the rules and it's gonna look right.
if I wanted to do like a skinny building, do I have to follow this line or have to do it?
What do you mean?
Like let's say I wanted another building to start right here.
You
To
need,
complete all of this.
you can do that, but you need to finish this one.
Um,
You see how you need the side and the top of this one? You need to finish this one and then you can do another one. And yeah, you can make it, you leave some space after this one ends, and then you can make it really tall and skinny, and it'll look like it ends somewhere around here. So just play around with the shapes of your buildings and see where it takes you.
Wait, so this one has the top or it goes to the side?
This one you might only see the side because it goes over the horizon line. Yeah. See if this one, yeah, you won't be able to see the top of this one, so it'll just be the side. Yeah. I'm going to continue working on my drawing.
They're not getting social services because his insurance said he got Anthem, which makes it he's not on welfare.
Converging lines.
I mean, because he's not here and actually having this suicidal thing, and they want to all kind of team and different people. And I also don't want to call the police and have them.
The next building I'm going to do it tall enough to be over the horizon line. So if you guys are thinking about doing that or you're a little confused about it, you'll be able to see. Huh?
Is it fine if we go?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's just the look of the building is going to be different than the ones in the front. So I'm going to, like, Maria was asking me, Carolyn was asking me how would it look if it was a skinny building next to this one. So I'm going to try drawing a skinny building so that if I don't know if you figured out your question.
Because I want it to be like next to it. I don't want it to have that little alleyway, so I want to know how to do that.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to do one that's attached to it, right? So the corner of my building is going to be right here where that one is. So that means this side is not going to be showing because it'll just go behind this one. So what you need to do is from here, you're going to draw the front of the side of the building that's facing you is going to start here and it's just going to continue up here. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let me draw it out. So that's the front line. I'm going to do it over horizontally, so I'm lining up my ruler. And then I'm coming straight down. So I'm lining up my ruler at the bottom. So this is the side that's facing me, but since it's being overlapped by this one, I can't see the whole thing. But I am going to erase this little section of the horizon line that is going through my building so that it looks more like a solid shape.
We can do that to the ones that are passing.
Yes. Yeah, it starts getting confusing when you have all those lines in there and they're not really necessary anymore. So from here, so this is the side of the building that's facing us. So from here, we line up our corners to the vanishing point. Now, because it's going over the horizon line, you're not going to be able to see the top of the building. You see how that line would go behind it? So we don't have to add that one. We only need to add this one. And then we determine how wide our building is. Since Carolyn wanted the building to be thin, I would say I'm going to do it right there. And then I line up that. I need to copy exactly the same direction that the front of the building is going in, so it's a vertical. So I'm going to line it up there with my ruler, make sure that it's lined up at the bottom to get that perfect vertical. Once I do this, I get rid of that extra converging line that we don't need. And I'm also going to get rid of this part of the horizon line that's going through my building. Does that answer your questions, Carolyn?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you notice how on this one right here, it looks like there's a little alleyway where you can actually walk between these buildings. This one is wall to it. There's no space in there. There's actually buildings that are built that way. Hi.
Art one, oh, the perspective, right?
Yes, we're working on perspective.
Okay, so here's the art room. It's very fun. Whenever there's, because you're doing a little lecture right now. Okay, but yeah, whenever students are just working, Miss Gama's got some music playing, so it's a very fun room. And you don't like this everything. And then.
Does anybody have any questions or need help? Does everybody understand when the building goes over your horizon line? What you should do? Make sure you erase that converging line because it looks funny right now. So we're working on the final project now. Okay, let me give you the packet. Do you have a pencil?
No.
Grab a pencil from back there. You to do a quick assessment survey. This is stuff that we covered last time. There are multiple choice. Type in your first and last name, and then you just go down. There's just a few questions. Answer those. There is a warm up. Okay. And then once you're done with those two things, then I'll get you started on this.
Miss, how do you do back buildings?
Back buildings?
Yeah.
Like back here? Over here? Okay. I'll show you. Let me show you up there.
I feel like I have too much space right there.
Yeah. So if I wanted to do a building back here, right, it looks like an empty lot right now.
Yeah.
What you're gonna do is, remember, all your buildings are going, the side that's facing you is going vertical or horizontally, right? Those are the lines that make the front of the building. So although it's not touching, it's not gonna be right here on the edge of the street, the face of the building what's facing you has to be straight. So what you can do is you can have a building come from behind this one and just do the edge kind of like I did here, except you won't be able to see this. So as long as the sides are vertical and horizontal, as long as they're straight, you can line up the corners that you do see to the vanishing point. So here's an example. Let's say I want to do a building behind this one. Okay, same height, but it's just behind it, right? So I'm gonna leave a little bit of space here just because I want to show that it's in the back. I can start the building. Let me line up my ruler at the bottom. I can start the building there. I'm gonna go horizontally to there, and then I'm gonna come down. Let me line up my ruler. Now here's one thing. If I want it in the same, like right behind this building, I need to make sure that I don't pass this part right here.
Oh, okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if there was enough space here to see the back, I wanted to make sure that it doesn't go past this point because that's where it ends. But since it's all the way down here, then I can just continue this line until it hits that building.
Oh, okay.
Just bringing it up just in case it happens to you later on when you're working. So now let me erase this horizontal line that I have going across my building. The only thing else to do to this building is to line up your corners, which the back corner goes in the back so you can't see it, but you can see a little tiny bit of this one before it goes behind that building. And there you're done with your back building. Only thing we need to do now is just erase this little horizon line that's right here peeking through. And that's it. So you have two buildings that are right next to each other, but there's these buildings in front of it. If you wanted to make this building smaller, then you can just make it shorter, but it would be the same thing. If you wanted to make it taller, then just this line is going to go until you can't see it anymore, and then you have to determine where it ends. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have questions? Okay, I'm going to come around and check on you guys.
Yeah.
Did you get your sketchbook?
Oh, and that's what you told me.
Yes, sketchbook. The buildings that you do over here are probably going to be tiny. That's why.
We want to get started. We can come in next week.
It's cool that you did that on that shape.
Okay. There we go.
I'm trying to do like a V shape on the side.
There you go.
Oh, well, you can do it actually. What you would do is you need to get the top of the perspective first. Can I see your pencil? You would have to get the perspective first. I'm going to do it really light. So that's where your building ends, right? So the V shape would have to go within this space. It would have to go like this. It would probably be like that, just because of the perspective. But you see how you would stay within?
Yeah.
And then this line would be, you have to decide where it ends and you have to copy that V shape. Like this is, you can erase this. And that's how wide your building is on that side. And then this goes here. And then that's the end of the building. Do you see? Yeah, you see it? I get it. So you just have to keep it within your converging lines.
I forgot how to draw this.
Okay. I have this right here that tells you step by step. So you do your horizon line first, vanishing point. And then you're going to draw these shapes with your ruler. Try to place them in the same spot that I have them in. Okay? Then you take the corners. You didn't even finish these?
I've been doing other homework.
Okay, you need to finish these before we move on.
Alright.
Okay? So do you have internet access on your phone? Maybe you should go on YouTube and watch the videos first.
Alright.
Because we can't move on until you're done with these, or else you're missing a section.
And what is it called?
It's art. Here, I'll write it down. It's art 1. Credit 5. And credit 5, I think it's boxes in 1 point perspective. What's that one? I'm gonna do a few more buildings behind here. I'll line up the ruler at the bottom. On the side. Are you guys ready for the doors and the windows? Okay, I'll give you guys a few more minutes and then I'll show you on these buildings that are on this side how to do your doors, and then I'll show you how to do the windows, and then you can continue with the other ones. You guys don't have to do all 10 buildings on this little practice one. Okay, it's just for you to practice drawing them. You have to do them on your big paper. So you want to make sure that today you give yourself enough time to start your final one. Okay?
It's just like practice to get the points up.
Yep.
Unless I connect this one, it's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just, this part right here is the front of it. You need to erase this right here because it's part of the... Now from there, you just have to line up the edges. There you go. Does it look right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys, let me show you how to do, we're going to do the doors, we're going to do the windows, the sidewalk, and the street. Okay? I'm going to do those in that order. It's okay if you don't have 10 buildings on this sketch because this is just a practice one. I wanted you to get, get a feel of what it's going to be like. When you get to your big paper, you can be more creative if you want to be a little more, since you already have practice doing it, you can be a little more creative with your buildings, with your windows.
We could add detail and all that stuff, right?
Huh?
We could add detail. Like
Yes. This one doesn't need to have a lot of detail, it's just a practice one. So let's do the doors. So for your doors, I'm gonna start by doing a door on this first building. I'm gonna line up my ruler vertically. So you need to line it up to the bottom. I'm gonna draw a line vertically that's gonna show me the height of my door. My line looks a little crooked. Let me check on that. So that's how high I want my door to be. Okay, can you guys see that? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line up the top of my door to the vanishing point. I'm not gonna draw my converging line all the way, just because I would have to erase it from every single building. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go as far as I want, like how thick I want my door to be. Okay, and then from there all I have to do is connect that corner to the bottom by lining up my ruler to make sure that it's a perfect vertical, and bring it down. I'm going to do another one on this second building, okay? So I'm going to line up my ruler vertically. Make sure that you're lining it up to the bottom of your paper. I'm going to go up as high as I want my door to be. Now remember, when things are further away from you, when they're receding away from you, they start looking smaller. Okay? So let's say that I wanted all my doors to be the same size. In reality, all my doors are the same size. If I want them to look like they're the same size on this picture because they're receding, they will naturally look smaller as they're going back. I can make sure that all my doors line up by doing this. If I line up the top of this, if I line up the top of this door right here, I can kind of mark them all the way across. You see that? And all I have to do is just make sure that the sides of the doors are a perfect vertical. So make sure you're lining up your ruler to the bottom of your paper. If I want to make my doors wider, you know how there's some buildings that have like double doors? I can do that as well, which is what I'm going to do on this building in the back. You see this door in the back? How I made it really wide? I'm just going to pick somewhere in the middle to make another vertical line to make it look like it's two doors. You see that? So the top of your doors have to be lining up with the vanishing point, and all those lines that go vertical have to be lined up to the bottom of your paper to make sure that they're vertical lines. Trying to clean my camera.
Okay, so as long as it should have mathematical thinking out of the one geometry without. You don't have to graduate from something?
No, well, if they, like, let's say they did probably one, like, they started high school geometry.
No, it doesn't have to be. No. If you were to do the doors facing you, then they would be perfect vertical and horizontal, just like the building that's in front of you. So let me show you. If I wanted to do a door on this side of my building, they won't be in perspective like these are, because it's on the side that's facing me. It'll just be like a perfect square. So let me show you. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to line up my ruler to the bottom of the paper because I do want it to be a perfect vertical line. I'm going to go across, line up my ruler to the side of the paper because I want it to be a perfect horizontal because it is facing me. And then it would go straight down. That would be my door. Okay? Same thing with windows. If I want to make a window here, it'll just be a perfect square or rectangle with vertical and horizontal lines. But if I want my windows to be on this side of the building, then I would use this technique. Okay? Which I'm going to do next. So to do windows, I would line up my ruler. And if let's say I want to do a long window, I'm going to say the bottom is that long. And then the top of my building, of my windows are going to be up here. I'm going to do the same length. And then from there, all I have to do is connect those with a vertical line. So line up your ruler at the bottom and connect those, the top and the bottom. And then line it up top and bottom. There would be your window.
So all windows have to connect to the vanishing point?
Yes, the bottom and the top of the windows have to connect to the vanishing point if they are on the side. If the windows are on this side, on the front of the building, or on the side that's facing you, then they would have to be straight. This one kind of looks more. This looks more like a store sign than a window, huh? If I wanted to do those windows, that have like the kind of look like 4 squares, what I would do is I would line up my ruler to the vanishing point and do the center part in that direction, and then the center part that goes vertically, I would just have to line it up with the bottom of the paper to make it straight. So it'll look like that. I'm gonna do windows on this one. I'm gonna do it on this back one because this one has, since it's a longer building. If you guys want to watch, I'm gonna do on this one. I'm gonna do 3 windows or 3 rows of windows. So I'm lining up my ruler to the vanishing point, and I'm gonna do. This is gonna be 1 window, 2, and 3. And then I'm gonna do the top of the windows. I'm gonna do 1, 2, and 3. Now from here, I'm gonna connect all of these vertically. I might have some lines extra. I can just erase those when I'm done. You just have to make sure that they're lining up vertically so that it looks right. If I wanted to do some on like a second row of windows, I can always line up these and extend them. Bless you.
Thank you.
Do the same thing on the top. As long as it's lining up to your vanishing point, it's going to look right. Anything that's vertical, you line it up to the bottom of your paper.
Ms. Gama, on each window, do they have to be like squares, or they can just be like different shapes as well?
They can be different shapes. You want me to show you how to do like circle, round windows? So if you want to do a row of round windows, let me do them on this one. I'm going to do it on this building. I would do the same thing, lining it up to the vanishing point. I would make a very light line to guide my circles because I want the circles to be in perspective. And what I would do is my circles have to be within these marks. So if you're not looking at a window that's a perfect circle, if you're not looking at it straight on, if you're looking at it straight on, it's going to look like a perfect circle, right? If you're looking at it at an angle, what shape is it going to look like? Like an oval. So if you want to do, let's say, 2 windows right here that are round, you just have to make sure that you keep them within those guidelines and do them in an oval, as an oval shape. So technically this one is slightly bigger than this one, or it looks like it's bigger, but in your building they would be the same size because they're lined up with the perspective. Does anybody else have questions? Okay, now let me show you how to do the sidewalk. So the sidewalk is going to be starting from here out this way. So all you have to do is line up your ruler to the vanishing point. Look at how wide, when you're going to decide how wide you want your sidewalk to be, look at this area because this is where the widest part is going to be. Okay? So you're going to line it up here. I'm going to do it from this side. So you're going to line it up here. I'm going to say my sidewalk is about that wide. So I'm going to draw a line going straight across or at a diagonal. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now you know how sidewalks have, they're kind of divided into rectangles? Like they have those lines going across. When you do that part, you need to line up your rulers horizontally. So line up your rulers to the edge of the paper. And you're going to make a straight line going across. Now remember that things seem to get closer together the further apart they are, or they seem to get smaller. So I'm going to do the first ones a little wider, and then they're going to start getting smaller as they go back. Yeah. Is that video helping? The video's not helping?
Sort of kind of.
Well, you've already done 3 or 2.
Yeah, only 2.
That looks good. I think it is helping.
Kind of difficult.
Yeah, that's how perspective is. This one right here looks fine. All you have to do is decide how wide it's going to be. So you just have to draw a line going across. And then erase this. And that's the reason why those look like that, where you can't see the other side, is because it's right above the vanishing point.
Yeah, I was thinking that like it's weird.
Yeah. So you notice how on my picture, these lines are getting closer together as they're going further back. When you do that, it makes it look like it's receding, like it's in the back. Remember with that picture, where the street lights were looking like they were getting smaller and they were kind of getting closer. It's the same idea. Same thing with this picture, the one from the railroad tracks. You see how you see a little more space here, and then they start getting closer together as it goes back. Same thing. Just make sure that they're horizontal lines. One more thing before we're done with the sidewalks. You know how sidewalks, it has the curve? Like they're actually a step higher than the streets? For that part, you line up the ruler to the vanishing point as well, but that little part of the curve is actually smaller than the sidewalk. So you come really close to that first line.
What if you do the line, well, not so, like it's not so far, but then it still looks,
I can't see it. Let me come. It does look a little too white. I would just bring it, because if you look at this, it looks like it's a big jump compared to this one. So I would definitely maybe cut it in half.
this line?
Yeah. You already have those in, so you don't have to erase those. Just bring it up and then erase whatever's left.
No. Yeah, because I was gonna use it because you knew I was gonna use it. So it's fine.
Let me check. Where's the drawing?
Did I tell you my favorite teacher? Really, really appreciate it. My favorite teacher was really
Definitely don't have your grade. Is this what you're thinking?
kept doing the dots. I swear, like I started filling it in and then. That's all I got.
Just answer those 3 questions.
Are you gonna leave it like that? Or are you gonna have
When you're done, you can just drop both of them right there on top of the mat.
Like that credit for me.
Yes. So when you do the curve, instead of continuing these lines horizontally, you're gonna do them vertically. Hold on, I'm gonna zoom it in so that you can see, because it's getting really tiny. So you're doing these horizontal lines to show where the cement was broken into. And then from here, on the curve, you're going to go straight down. That way it looks like it's going like this. Okay? You're going to continue doing that all the way to the back as well. Shh. So you continue all the way down with vertical lines. Are you done? My whole listings are set up in a certain order, and you only need to type
Did I just come back in?
What time is it? Oh, yeah, you started at 12:30. Take your video off.
Huh?
What did she say?
Are you doing it wrong?
Did you do the ones? Did you do the ones in 2-point perspective? You gotta do these 2. Those are all there too.
Connect them more like.
How many are up?
You gotta do 4 more. These are actually easier than the first ones I did.
But you could do big windows too, right? They don't have to be-
Yeah, you can do big windows. The size doesn't matter. You just have to have at least 4 on each building. If it's the buildings in the back, and you want to do like a big window that has just a bunch of little ones, you can do that too. Okay, now I want to show you how to do the division on the streets? Those like little stripes that go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do those really quick. Those are super simple because you follow the same format. The only thing, you need to look at this, you need to look at how wide they get down here because this is what's going to make it look realistic. So if the sidewalk is this wide, you know that those strips that go in the center of the street are going to be much thinner than that. So what I like to do is, the back is always getting smaller, right? So make sure that you do longer ones in the front, and then they start getting shorter as they go back.
You didn't say you were gonna be here yesterday, and when you supposed to be here?
Okay. Now I'm going to give them a little bit of thickness. So I'm going to look at how thick they get here, and I'm just going to copy the same width as the one that I just drew. All the way to the back. And then with my ruler, just horizontally, I'm going to go all the way, just connecting these, the front and the back. Thank you. Is your name on the back? Thank you.
Okay, so then I'm gonna send you the
Don't enter anything else to fill up, yeah. You see what I feel like came out talking about?
Do you guys have any other questions? Would you like me to demonstrate anything else? So you guys understand that anything that is facing like this on this side of the buildings are going to be, everything's going to go into that vanishing point. Anything that's on this side facing us is going to be straight. Horizontal lines and vertical lines, right? If you want to make a sign like on the top of a building, you would make it like this. You would line it up to the vanishing point like these, and then you would write the letters within those margins. Okay? Are you guys ready for your big paper? You guys don't have to do the 10 buildings on here. It's just, this is practice. Okay? As long as you have some buildings, some of the windows, some of the doors, the sidewalk, and the street part, then you're good. You can start on your new one. Okay? I've been watching your guys' work, and it looks like everybody's getting it pretty good. So I would like you guys to start on your bigger paper so that if you come across any issues or you have any questions, I would like to be able to answer them for you now before you guys go home. Okay? Yeah? This one? Oh.
When you're doing it, yeah, that
This one. Okay. You want me to just show you with this one? Okay. So what you have to do first is you have to do the side of the building that's facing you. Right? So the side that is facing you is always a perfect rectangle or a perfect square. So it's verticals and horizontal lines. Because you can't see the bottom of this corner of the building because it's back here. All you're going to be able to see is the top of the building, which is this line, which is perfect vertical, this line, which is a perfect vertical, and this one. Then from there, you're just going to connect whatever corners you can. Because it goes behind this building, you don't have to draw it out through it. The only little tiny side that you're gonna see of this building is this right here. And this corner, this line right here was lined up to this vanishing point. So to start it, you want to make sure that if it's behind this building, you want to make sure that the bottom doesn't go like way out this way, right? So if I was to do this, the bottom of the building would be covered by this back building, so you're fine with that part. Then you would do the front. Make sure that it's lined up at the bottom. It has to be a perfect vertical. You do the back. You do the top of the building, perfect horizontal, and then you line it up. You can't see how wide the building is because it goes behind this one. So this one is actually pretty easy to do. It's just you need to be able to visualize it when you're drawing it. Okay? But just follow the steps. You do the side that's facing you first, so it's perfect verticals and horizontals, and then you do the connecting. Okay? Any other questions? Okay.
I can't get this street thingy right.
The street part?
Yeah.
Did you see how I started it? I lined it up first, and then I started going back, getting smaller each time. So I started up longer, and then I skipped that part, and then I went again, jumped, went again, jumped, went again, but I started doing them smaller. Then when I was done with that one, to get the thickness, I just flipped it, or I was sliding the ruler over a little bit, and then just copied the lines that I had already done. And then after that, to connect those lines, I just have to do a perfect horizontal, sorry. A perfect horizontal line just to connect them.
Come back tomorrow?
Yeah. You want to do it in the morning? That's
What time?
best time.